We're back. Yes, 3HL Tour Weekly coming up right after this.
It's like PTI, right? Oh, we're back.
We're back. Here we are. Yes, indeed. Hi, everybody. I'm Joe Tilley, along with Justin Fox. Justin is the founder and president of 3HL Tour, and things are ramping up. Justin, we're pretty excited. And you know what? We wanted to talk this week about the 3HL deck, which is kind of like a couple of pages that talks about the 3HL and puts everything into perspective. And it's pretty impressive when you look at it. Here we go.
I mean, so it's just a quick little deck that we put together, a couple of us, to essentially outline what the 3HL is to all kind of potential parties. It's sort of a touch point that we're sending out. So it's good to, maybe a good starting point to talk about or talk on today. But yeah, basically it's just kind of, we talk a little bit about. You want me to go through the deck, or how do you?
Yeah, let's go through it.
Go through it.
We're seeing this on the screen there. Wayne Gretzky, of course, the greatest of all time, talking about how he likes 3-on-3 hockey, best thing the NHL has done in 30 years, and who knows, down the road maybe the 3HL will take over the NHL. I mean, those are pretty
lofty goals, but that's
goals,
definitely in our ambitions, right?
So yeah, sure.
Exactly,
why not have lofty goals?
Exactly. And I mean, even just, some of the things we talked about last week about the fact that, 3-on-3 is potentially going to be in the Olympics, right, as a standalone sport. So, I mean, if we can send some of our guys over to represent their, whether it's Canada or other various countries, I think that'd be pretty exciting too. But one of the things that I think, we want to touch on in this is that obviously the sports technology market, there's huge sort of tremendous growth opportunities there. It touches on a lot of different things, but really about the improvement and engagement of fans, and talk about data-driven decision making. That's really what the tokenization of the teams and the whole kind of engagement of fans on the blockchain will allow for with the 3HL. So really sort of talking to that point, we'll talk about some stats that matter. I mentioned the IIHF. In the Olympics, so the IOC, sort of talking about potentially 3-on-3 being in the Olympics, but they've already started rolling out a number of events and tournaments and different things at various, age levels and skill levels across the globe. So there's huge interest there. Talk about the crypto side of things. The projected global crypto users is projected to be 1 billion by the end of this year. So I know it sounds kind of crazy. We're probably about 100 to 200 million, but there's expected, almost call it a 5 to 10x growth in crypto users by the end of this year. You're going to start to see a lot of people widespread adoption. A lot of people are getting in a lot of these platforms, and they're looking at, early stages, Bitcoin, Ethereum, maybe some of the other, XRP. Well, it's delisted right now pretty much across the globe, but you've got other, sort of secondary tokens or coins, but really the crypto space is much broader. You've got NFTs, you've got things like what would be an FT or a security token that backers facilitates, and how users can now integrate with each other or engage with each other and engage with, entities that they're invested in is going to grow tremendously. So that's kind of what we're talking about here with, projected crypto users and the adoption of crypto technology and understanding blockchain technology. It's going to explode. And obviously the 3HL is here to take advantage of that. Some other stats, obviously 1 million plus players play 3-on-3 hockey globally, at all levels. We've got quite a bit of a reach, about 100K. The other two I think are pretty interesting. We talked about the NHL. The percent chance, this is based on a study, so a smaller sample size, but I think they looked at about 40,000 hockey players at sort of a certain level in Ontario. So again, very much a smaller sample size, but they looked at the statistics of the percent chance to play in the NHL. And these are the percent of players that play hockey that will actually make the NHL. So if you notice, it's 0.1%. So there's a large percentage of really, really good hockey players that just for whatever reason are not playing in the NHL. And if you look on the other side there, you look at obviously the average salary of a professional hockey player not in the NHL, whether they're in Europe, other leagues, minor pro leagues across North America, the average salary is about 10K, and many instances guys are making only 10, 15K. So there's not a lot of money in hockey. We want to kind of change that or offer another opportunity for players to play professionally, 3-on-3. It's exciting. There's the whole crypto aspect, and to make some money, comparable with some of the leagues right now, obviously with an aim to grow over time, right? So that's kind of where we're at with that. Any questions, class?
Well, yeah, I was just gonna, if you pull it back to one.
Pull it back to the other one, yeah.
Pull it back to the other. A couple of questions I have here,
Yeah.
First of all, yes, for the 1% of players, at a reasonably high level of hockey, are going to make it into the NHL. That's
a tenth of a percent, not even 1%. It's a tenth of a percent.
A tenth of a percent. There you go. Right.
Yeah.
Good. So good catch. So a tenth of a percent of those who are playing, trying to who have aspirations of making the NHL are going to make it. So it's a very small number.
Right.
This is in the 3HL tour. This is it's an opportunity for people who have been overlooked for whatever reason in the past. I mean, sometimes it's a political thing. Sometimes it's like the coach's son got the look over you. I mean, there's lots of things that happen as you're climbing the chain. But this is another opportunity for people with skill, speed, talent. It's going to be showcased in the type of league that we've never seen the likes of before. We've seen 3-on-3 hockey. What happens in 3-on-3 hockey? We see the coaches throwing out the most talent they've got on the team on the ice at one time,
speed,
and it's
speed
exciting.
And creativity, right?
Oh my God! Yeah. The stuff you see on the ice is phenomenal, and we're going to see that, every minute of every game. So this is going to be very exciting. The salaries, the salary opportunity. I mean, in the beginning, let's face it, this is going to be something that's going to be growing, but who knows how this is going to go? It could grow exponentially. I mean, these guys could be making some serious dough in a very short period of time. The projected global crypto users, 1 billion, like that 1 billion, that is growing. That with the crypto business is let's face it, is growing and it's big. And this the combination between the backers and and team ownership and team support. This is something that we've never seen the likes of before. We don't know where this is going. We have no clue how this is going to take off. But chances are it's going to be, we're looking at something different before. We've a lot of sports fans have been involved in fantasy sports leagues. But in this case, you're actually involved in a sports league where your opinion, your investment matters. Like, you actually have an opportunity to have a say in how your team operates. You have an opportunity to have a say in who gets involved with your team by getting the information on social media, by however you want to do it. So this is going to be a completely different way of doing it, like we've never seen before. And I mean, that's part of that. That's part of what excites me about all this too. I mean, the sky's the limit. The landscape is changing all the time. So tell us a little bit about backers.
Well, that's exactly. I mean, so it's just sort of like we call them fan shares, but essentially it's sort of fan owned and operated, right? Powered by backers. Essentially fans will own shares in their team, actual equity or stock, whatever you want to call it, through the use of security tokens, where one token equals one share. And essentially that token on the blockchain is, it says security tokens powered by backers. I'll read the quote at the bottom. 3HL teams will be able to go out and raise capital. So this will be a great way to get an influx of cash for that first couple of years of operations for a team to get out there and operate and be able to put on a show, make sure that everything's happening, right? All the teams across the board and the league for that matter will be able to raise capital in this way by selling essentially equity or partial ownership to their fans, where one token equals one share, which is, as you just mentioned, Joe, is creating an opportunity like no other to basically engage with fans, facilitating obviously the loyalty. We talk about sort of the fantasy aspect, where it's literally fan controlled or fan owned and operated. There's obviously rewards programs similar to that of an NFTs, kind of like a membership type thing. You can get discounts or, free merchandise or attendance, things of that nature. You've got obviously the gaming functionality, like return on investment. So there's a portion of the actual winnings that the team wins will be distributed through smart contracts on the blockchain, will be distributed to the shareholders, which includes the fans. So it's like a dividend coming out, so imagine, putting money on the Leafs and getting, $1 payout just because they won, right? Or owning, a small portion. It's sort of, it really gamifies that aspect of fandomship, I guess. And then you've got, as mentioned, sort of percentage of the payouts, ongoing interactions and decision/voting on team operations and management. So that'll start off, we'll ramp that up slowly, but yeah, well, that could go anything from, the fantasy aspect of who are the players that are going to be playing that week, who's the GM, who's the coach, salaries, things of that nature. We can start to really have fan input directly through the use of, a simple app on a smartphone where somebody can just literally click yes, no, yeah, we want to do this, or, they can be involved and engaged at any step at any, time throughout the process. And really change the dynamics of fans and how they interact with their team. I mean, the whole idea of backers and the concept came to me, probably 6-7 years ago when the first kind of launch of the 3HL, looking at the Green Bay Packers, you've got, 300,000 shareholders, and they just have a share certificate that has no, actual tangible value or monetary value. Other than just it shows that they put money into the team and they own a arbitrary share that they can't even trade. With backers now, fans will be able to buy that share. It'll be on the blockchain. There'll be that engagement, and then there'll be that liquidity long term. Where when we build up the secondary market, fans will be able to buy and sell, ownership in their teams, their favorite teams, both on the 3HL tour and other corporations, potentially other sports leagues, potentially other sports teams that would see the value in having their fans be owners on the team. So it's kind of a really exciting time to be a part of. We talked about the billion adoption rate and that hockey stick kind of adoption that you're going to see. I mean, if it's over the next 8-9 months, you're going to see almost a 5x kind of increase. You're probably going to see that continue into 2023, and so it's going to be huge adoption there. So exciting times, from a technology back end for the 3HL. Excited to get out the fans and put on the excitement on ice, which we'll talk about in sort of the next slide. But obviously we're going to be live streaming the events, so fans will be able to catch the action on all of sort of our current channels, but we're also working with some of the larger, more national distribution partners, specifically Sportsnet right now, to discuss putting or live streaming our events, so the broader national, I guess, audience will be able to see that. So that's the one part. But the other cool thing, obviously, is the events. I don't know. We'll go to. Is anyone watching that has questions? I feel like we never really ask the audience. I don't know. Do you do a lot of the live when you're doing your show, Joe? Do you ask the audience what their thoughts are or what their input is?
We generally do the show live to tape, so it's
right.
We can't do it that particular way. But we have done live shows before, and there are questions that pop up from time to time. But what I think is the best thing to do is if you have any questions at all, send them in. Drop us a line on any of the social media sources, and we can address that question in the next show or comment. So let's to go on with the format. This is so exciting because it's like combination PGA tournament, NCAA tournament, which is happening right now, and you can have. You have upsets like you do in any other sport. You have anything can happen on any given day.
Kentucky going down to St. Peter's.
Yeah.
I mean, that right away blew my bracket up. So, and I mean, I think Auburn's gone down, and a few of the top seeds have I think Arizona who they almost lost there the other day, went to overtime.
Michigan came out of nowhere, number 11 seed. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Like, I mean, there's, yeah. So it's anything can happen, any given Sunday kind of thing. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the excitement. So yeah, I mean, to sort of touch on it, we've combined obviously the week to week tour style event, like the PGA Tour. So that's hence the name, the 3HL Tour. So we'll have a weekly event where all of the teams on the tour will come or converge on one location for a single elimination bracket style tournament, aka similar to the March Madness bracket. Our ideal, I guess, bracket will be 64 teams weekly showing up on Friday, with one winner, being announced on Sunday. So, obviously there are short 15-minute games, 3 5-minute periods. So it's quick. We can do basically an entire side of the bracket, the entire bracket, one game each, on one whole day. So we get through it pretty quickly with the 15-minute games. You win, you move on, you lose, you're done. And obviously there's a cash purse similar to the PGA Tour or NASCAR or Formula One or the ATP Tour, where the winner gets the lion's share or the largest portion, and everyone else sort of after that, depending on how many games they won or how far they advanced, they get a portion of that cash purse. So again, we've combined the obviously the excitement of 3-on-3. We've combined it with the excitement of March Madness. We've combined it with sort of the weekly tour event with the PGA Tour. Obviously, you've got the fan engagements through, we talked about the ownership and kind of management aspect or fantasy aspect across a 33-week season. So it's going to be pretty exciting to see, how this unfolds. I mean, we've done it. We did it with 8 teams. We're going to roll this out with 8 teams as we kind of roll it out. But, we'll grow to 16, 32, 64. And, ideally by the end of this season, maybe early next season, we'll have 64 teams competing on a weekly basis. And it'll be sort of a snowball effect. I mean, we'll have the first 8 announced by the end of this month. So if we can get that first 8 announced and people start to see the momentum, I think we could even potentially start the season with 64 teams. That's my goal. That's my
right.
goal.
But yeah. Let's take this a little further, okay? Let's really dream here for a second.
Yeah.
Okay. Now think about a championship scenario. Okay, so now we'll call this Eastern Canada, the champions converge and for the big tournament. Okay, now there's a Western Canadian version, there's a Northern U.S. version, there's a Southern U.S. version, there's an Eastern European, and there's a Western European. They all have these events, the 3-on-3 tournaments. They each have their own 64 team bracket that produces one champion, and then champion from all these regions converge on the overall world championship. And then you've got your tournament from there. So I don't know, there could be 20 regions, there could be 24, there could be, say, 32 or 36, 32. Yeah, right.
32.
Yeah, 32. So anyway,
there's a lot of ways that this is going to expand. It's super exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, this is your start. I love how you're sort of going off on the sports mindset there. I mean, ideally they can go a couple ways. One, we could have regional events. We've discussed that. The other version is we have 64 teams represented, across the globe showing up weekly, right? So all of a sudden you have, Tokyo playing Toronto, right? Or London playing Las Vegas.
Or they could, but even if they stayed in their own region and then came to the championships at the end of the day, where 64 regions worldwide, say for example.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something that we're going to start to discuss.
I mean, because the travel could be an issue. So we if you have the end of the year tournament where there's 64 regions converging on one location and having the ultimate world championship tournament.
I read it. It's funny. I read a thing. The U.S. is the only, or North American sports are the only sports that play arguably in one country and call themselves world champions. But anyways, I mean, the cool thing is that I mean, there's a couple ways we can expand this, but the idea is that guys play, let's say on the PGA Tour, they'll play in the UK one weekend and they'll play in Toronto the following weekend, right? The British Open is followed by the Canadian Open, every year, right? So guys travel across the pond there a little bit. So there's, because it's a weekly event, it's Friday to Sunday, they've got 4 or 5 days to travel, right? So they can get pretty much anywhere globally between events to kind of go from event to event. At that point, the goal will be to have, $1 million weekly purse, or even, dare I say it, 10 million, or even, I've drawn, we'll see some projections, $30 million weekly purse with 64 teams. So now guys are making top dollar as players by competing on the 3HL tour, right? So that's kind of the trajectory where we see this going. So sports fans, if you're excited to see an exciting or be a part of it, I mean, this is now an opportunity to get in sort of at the ground level. Reach out to us if you're interested in founding a team. We'll talk a little bit about what a team founder looks like, but
we'll see how this unfolds. But another point I want to make is, like, how the NHL has been, NHL, NFL, the big leagues are reluctant to make their leagues global. Because of the
travel,
because of the issues involved with travel and everything else. This would be no problem for the 3HL.
Exactly.
No problem at all. This can happen so easily, and I can see this happening, like having an actual world championship in no time at all. All right, let's move on.
Exactly. Cool. So, I mean, people always ask who we are. No, what is that kid's song? People always ask us. So anyways, but people always ask who the players are, right? Like, who are the players that we're targeting right now out of the gate? Throw this up here. It's kind of an interesting little tidbit. It kind of accentuates the type of players that will play on the 3HL early going. Obviously, once the purses start to grow, obviously our ability to attract bigger, better, faster players potentially, from other leagues will increase. But I think right out of the gate, we'll be competing, with sort of, as I said, that minor pro or a step down from the NHL, with guys being able to make, maybe anywhere between sort of 10, 20, 30, 50K annually, as much as 100K right out of the gate. So basically players are typically, 18 to 35, obviously come from a wide range of experience, all the way from junior to sort of all levels of pro. Obviously, I said this already, with the purse money growing, attracting better players, the level player will grow to the point where the 3HL will be the choice for pro hockey. So that's kind of our goal. Throw a couple names out here that played, in our previous go round, sort of prior to 2018, 2019. Guys like Rob Quitt, Memorial Cup champion, drafted to the NHL, kind of has, bounced around a little bit for various reasons. From what he told me, they looked at him to be a fighter, wasn't really keen on that, and so kind of got pushed out. But he looks at his family has a pretty successful business, and so he's kind of like, hey, do I want to run around on a bus, trying to, not making a lot of money, probably not really going to make it all the way to the top again. Why don't I just go sort of start my own life? So, a lot of guys like that, where if this is, primarily weekends and, they can, with the money being where it is right now, they can participate in life and participate in the 3HL. Obviously, once it grows and, the bigger dollars are there, those types of guys will obviously be able to jump into this as well and have that. But, early on, that's a huge opportunity for guys to participate in the tour or on the tour that maybe have decided to kind of go elsewhere. Guys like Brett Leggett, kind of end of their career. Sean Jones, guy that, sort of bounced around overseas and into pro leagues. This offers an opportunity for guys like that right now, today, this coming fall to come out and play on the 3HL tour and compete. And because there's the purse and the cash purse, if they win, they make money. So it's literally like, what have you done for me lately is right now. Like, what have you done today? Right. What are you doing this second? Not, I mean, I read a thing that, contracts are for what you've done, right? On some of these, you look at some of these huge contracts that guys are signing 6-year contracts near the end of their career. It's really about who they were. And, I don't know, it's maybe unwritten. Certain teams get saddled with these, but this is really, you have to prove, your skills game day. Right. And if you can't compete and your team's not winning, well, guess what? They're probably going to replace you with someone else. So,
Yeah,
it's
and I'll tell you,
exciting.
here I'm going to give you, like, we're
Yeah.
moving on team founders. That's good, because I want to
Okay.
give you a scenario. Like, if
Yeah.
I'm a guy who's like a former scout or a current scout in the NHL or a current scout in the OHL, and I'm starting to think that in a different direction in my career choices, for example, I might want to become a team founder. I might want to combine with somebody as a team founder, and using
Yeah.
my connections to the amount of talent that I've seen play this game that aren't getting the opportunity in NHL for whatever reason, size, whatever. But I know these guys have skill. They would be great 3-on-3 players. Then that's the kind of guy that I want to be connected with as a team founder, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, team founders, you kind of hit the nail on the head a little bit.
Right.
Team founders are, I think, come from maybe a couple of walks of life. Obviously they can be community organizers,
Or Steve Jobs.
Well, yeah, Steve Jobs, exactly. So you mentioned people that are, involved in hockey that maybe run hockey schools, camps that, have a very wide audience or reach of people that they know in the community. They're scouts, they're, coaches at various levels, right? People that, have been, former pros, that are kind of, or local business owners, that community organizer that knows a lot of people in the community. And it's sort of like, hey, I can, kind of be a part of this new professional sports team that's going to represent their community, and be that driving force or that spearhead, to get that team up and running. There's an initial investment into the league. Actually, they'll become a part of the board of governors of the league. And then they need to go out. They need to raise capital using the backers platform, raising capital, selling the security tokens to the fans, raising that initial wave of capital, engaging with the fans, and then going out and scouting and developing players. Because I guess, a lot of people ask me, how does a team or investors, in a team founder or any of the investors, the fans, how do they make money, or how, what's the return on investment? We talked about the dividend and sort of that like cash flow through from the money being earned, but it's also the appreciation in the value of the team. I mean, you look at some of these junior
sponsorship, there's all kinds of stuff that comes into play.
Exactly. There's a few, but the main revenue stream is going to be the cash purse, right? The cash flow will come from winning. And if you're putting a good product on the ice and you're winning events, you're going to be winning money. And that money will come back into your team, into the investors, into the players. And obviously you'll be able to disperse that and be able to grow your team. So it's really about the league from a league's perspective, the tour perspective, where our goal is to grow the purse, which then will allow the teams to go out and bring on bigger, better players, so they can make more money and grow their team as well. So it's really, there's the excitement for the fans, because now they know the players are out there competing hard every single week in, week out, and competing to win, right? And if you watched it the first go around, which I know you watched a few of the events, and I was on CTV, that's actually just got a post on Facebook of remember when, not too maybe a couple of weeks ago, remember when it was sort of when I was on the show there with you. But week in, week out, some teams didn't show up that were arguably on paper much better, and they didn't show up and they lost, right? And to teams that, on paper had no business even being on the ice with them, right? Like it was interesting to watch the dynamics at times. So it's exciting. We've been talking, I've been sort of, on calls with a number of different people. Like I said before, we're just going to roll out our first 8 teams at the end of this month. We're just finalizing a couple of those, and then our goal is to get to 64 by the time the season starts in the fall. But the first 8 will definitely be announced by the end of March. And then, if you're interested in, being a community organizer, you're a former pro, you're a local businessman, you have a connection into the hockey world, hockey people, and you want to be that sort of catalyst to bring a pro sports team to your community, this is the chance. This is the opportunity. I mean, I don't think opportunities come like this. They're very few and far between. I mean, if you wanted to buy a new NHL franchise. Look at the Kraken. It was probably,
Yeah.
$1 billion, right? So,
So I'm
yeah.
going to stop you right there because it's not few and far between. It just doesn't exist.
It doesn't
okay?
exist,
This is
right?
it,
Exactly.
right?
This
So,
is it, right? So,
yeah.
exactly.
So this is pretty cool, and yeah, this is like you said a great opportunity because this to me it's a can't miss proposition. It really is.
Exactly. I mean, especially at this point,
Okay.
I mean, there's a very limited early investment, into the league. But yeah, I mean, and reach out if you're interested. We can talk about that. It's going to grow over time, but right now, we're excited to bring on the first wave of founders. If somebody's interested in being, a franchise owner or team founder, that to put a team that represents their community, their city, their town, whatever on the map, and to participate on a weekly basis and compete for glory on the 3HL tour, then be sure to reach out to us, I guess.
Right.
With that being said,
there we go.
That being said, host cities. So I've actually had a bunch of conversations with a couple mayors, different tourism boards, all these different people, conversations galore. And so is Ari, and so are some of the other people in the team here, working with potential host cities. But really, the idea is host cities similar to, again, where it's a tour, more similar to things like, talk about like provincial championships or, the Olympics or, the ATP tour, PGA tour, Pan Am games. What we're really building is, I've got this sort of like bring a circus type feel for the opportunity for communities to join in and enjoy the excitement while hosting, thousands of participants and fans as the tour kind of, comes to town. So completely different than sort of your traditional team sports model, at the highest levels. It's really, someone mentioned this on the phone to me. It's really, it's like, individual sports. We've almost taken the PGA Tour, ATP Tour model, and we've made a team sport version of it. So, the dynamics will be interesting. We've done it already done 15 or so events. The fans love it. The players are there. They're excited. They're there for the, sort of the whole day. They're mixing and mingling. There's definitely a different vibe. And then from a host city perspective, we look at some of the things like, hometown hockey or some of these other like programs where they go from venue to venue. They are able to get, thousands, tens of thousands of people to show up and watch pro athletes, just like we did, when we went to some of these smaller venues. So we're working with the host cities to put in a bid. So again, if you're interested as a community organizer, maybe not to run a team, but you're interested in having an event come to your city, and put on a 3-day show, and excite the fans, entertain the fans, and obviously be broadcast nationally, reach out. Feel free to reach out. Questions from the audience? No, just how do we?
All right.
Anyone? Yeah, no, Joe. Yeah, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on this?
I think you covered it pretty well. Let's move on to the next deck.
Okay, let's see what this one. So, same idea. I mean, we're going to work with some of our partners, but the idea is, obviously it's a tour, so you've got sort of that event title sponsors. I know, I worked in sort of the sports hospitality realm for a few years. The Canadian Open. It was Bell Canadian Open. I think it changed from whatever it was prior to that. So they, there's
Bell, RBC. It's been a few
RBC. Yeah, exactly. Right. And so you've got, the ability for major corporations to now step up and be title sponsors of these tour events as we go from venue to venue. So there's definitely an opportunity for, branding, marketing, opportunities, both at the team level, which you kind of alluded to earlier, and at the league level. Kind of like, Tiger Woods wears his Titleist hat or whatever he wears, Nike hat. I always say Titleist, but it may not be Titleist. Who knows?
Yeah,
on Sundays he gets
Titleist and Nike.
And Nike, right?
Nike clothes, Titleist balls, yeah.
Right, exactly. So, and then you've got, the tour, the John Deere Classic, right? So there's really, opportunities at all levels for corporate participation, hospitality, and engagement with the community and the fans, both locally on site at the event, but also broadcast nationally to the fans. So Again, I've sort of pulled up a couple examples just of,
Yeah.
comparable type examples of other sports that have similar type opportunities. This is something that I think a lot of people are going to, go, and their, jaws might drop. But this is, ripped from, kind of went through some of the numbers, but the 3HL Tour obviously is going to kick off our next season this fall with a minimum of 8 teams. And as I've said, a few times on this presentation, we're going to ultimately grow it to a 64-team weekly field with, expected cash purses to rise from sort of the 30K weekly to $1 million+ weekly. And, I've sort of thrown projections up to, 30 million weekly, across the 33-week season. So as you can see, the payouts, the early stage, first place team will make 15K, on a weekly basis, right? So you split that up with the players, the investors, and then sort of the operational budget, players will walk away with probably, $750 each, right? Early on. You do that across 33 weeks, minimum $300, for some of the lower end teams. That's not chump change, right? That'll turn a lot of heads as we start growing the.
So even in the beginning, guys are going to get an opportunity to make some decent money.
Yeah.
And then down the road, of course, you're talking about, the sky's the limit. It really is. So,
of course.
Yeah. It doesn't hurt to put the projections up there. They may be attained or not, but we don't know that until we see. But I mean, certainly the potential is there, and anybody can see that.
Yeah, in the early stage, I mean, that's the 30, 50, sort of 100K. I mean, that's, based on sort of sponsors and advertisers and our TV deals and stuff of that nature. I mean, that's kind of the bare minimum that we expect to be able to put out as purse money on a weekly basis. But it's exciting to see where this can go, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's huge opportunities. So that's kind of the one. And then we got us. There's you and I on there.
The dream team.
The dream team, exactly. So I mean, I think we've collected a pretty cool group of people that have a varying skill sets. Obviously, Adam was on the show with us last week. Bernie's been on the show with us a couple of weeks ago. I asked Ari, he's probably going to jump on with us next week. Matt, amazing. Everyone's got we'll probably get Matt on at some point too, I think. They've got their skills. Bernie, obviously former NHL superstar, as we'd like to say, future Hall of Famer. I think we're going to try and get him.
Well, it should be in the Hall of Famer.
Right?
Let's work on that, because let's face it, you don't score 70 goals and not make the Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
nobody else has done that. Nobody else has scored 70 goals and not made the Hall of Fame except for Bernie Nichols. So wake up.
Exactly. So we got to push for them. You got Adam and Ari and obviously yourself, all various, experience in sort of the sports industry. Yourself, obviously broadcaster and a number of different things. Adam sort of, we're working with Adam and Sportsnet on sort of the broadcasting side. He's producing our commercial with the production studio. Ari obviously is working with myself and we're kind of working with the team founders and some of the partner organizations, the cities, communities that we're going to be playing in or representing. And then Matt, obviously is sort of comes in from a marketing and advertising experience. It's going to start to help and work with some of the larger sponsors and obviously the Sportsnet deal and stuff like that. So definitely, and Bernie's obviously reaching out to a lot of the people he knows, working with some of the team founders and kind of lending his insight into the hockey world and everything that we're doing. So yeah, it's a pretty cool team. I mean, we meet weekly, and hopefully we're that team's going to potentially grow, and we'll bring on other members. I know there's some talk about some other members joining, so it's exciting. But there it is. That's the dream team, as you said.
Yeah, well, I would say that this is a pretty good start, and from here we will grow, and we will get bigger and better, and more people involved, and yeah, I can't wait to get things on the move here. So
yeah,
this fall,
it's exciting.
HL Tour. Kicking
NHL.
up. Coming up.
Exactly. That's your line. That's your line. Yeah, no. So it's exciting times. There's a lot of moving parts, a lot happening. I get a lot of questions about, different things, but it's exciting. So we're excited to, kind of roll this out. There's a lot that people, a lot of questions people have around the, the tokenization, obviously the engagement, that's very new. Obviously 3-on-3 people are understanding that. The first time we kind of went at this, pre-COVID, there was a lot of questions, 3-on-3, what is it? But I think now people understand it. The March Madness, I think, once people grasp, we'll get people filling out the brackets and have that kind of aspect to it on a weekly basis. People will be like, oh, okay, that's good. I'm going to pick, London versus, Hagersville, or I don't know, whatever, the communities that are represented. And so it'll be pretty exciting that way. So then when we bring 640 players and entourage, 1,000 participants, to an event, right?
To your community,
right? And we're there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, participating in events, and we'll have some, weekly open tryouts and pro-ams and all kinds of different charity engagement and different things. I mean, obviously with the board there, we talk about, different charitable, opportunities. All those things are going to come to fruition as well.
All right. Well, that's it for this week's edition of 3HL Tour Weekly. For Justin Fox, I'm Joe Tilley. We'll see you next time.
Awesome. I think, there's talk, we might do an event in Bahamas.
Okay, let's do it. Yeah.
Anyways,
we can have one here in Mexico.
You can outdoor game. We'll just turn the chillers up, right?
Might be a little tough here, but
the sun beating down would not last. The ice would be gone in seconds. Yeah, cool. Anyway, so appreciate it. We'll talk soon. All right, talk soon.
All right.